Hello, beautiful people. How are you today? Today I'm going to talk about what the U.S. government has been spending millions and millions of dollars on me yearly to get at my subconscious to find out what happened, what I did, and where I went when I, as a young child, was aboard a government U.S. military flying saucer, and I crashed the ship in Ukiah, California. Now, first of all, let's talk about Ukiah, California. Let me give you some history about Ukiah, California. At the time when I crashed the ship in 1984, I was a really young child. This was the first time when the government had taken me on one of their ships for mind control programming. It was from my home in Navasota, Texas. What they did was they used time travel to go back and start the mind control and experimentation on me at a younger age. That was in Navasota, Texas. So I want you to understand Ukiah, California in 1984 wasn't the big CIA retirement weed growing community that it is today. It was primarily still owned by hippies and Indians, and Walker Bush pretty much started helping clean that part of California out and paving the way for the Nazis and the KKK and the people that live up in Hollywood today that control Hollywood. Ukiah is where everyone has their getaway homes from LA. Woody Harrelson has a home there. Quentin Tarantino has a home there. Liv Tyler has a home there. I can go on and on. Russell Simmons even has a home in the exclusive living community up there. How do I know? Because I lived up there for a while after the U.S. government came and took me off the streets when I had to become a ghost, so to speak, to get away from my hitman stepbrother, Corregger Cliff Jackson, who is the shooter of Notorious Big and also involved in the killing of Jam Master Jay. But this is not about him. I have other videos specifically about him, so you can go listen to those if you want. Today is about what the government has been spending millions and millions of dollars to find out what happened, what I did, where I went, because they figured out it had something to do with me and something I did to affect their timeline and time travel when I was a child. Now, I want you to understand that my programming first started in Atascocita, Humble. I was in, I think, 2nd or 3rd grade, living in Atascocita with my father when I witnessed the murder of my father and George Lucas and his son Chris and his wife were living up the street. This was before Star Wars came out. So I want you to understand how they alter time, how they have access to time travel. Because I know Star Wars came out in like the late 70s, but you gotta understand that these people have access to time travel. Lucas has access or had access to time travel. So he could go and write something in 1984 and go back and give it to himself in 1978 or whenever Star Wars came out and say, here's the script, release it now, and move here, and then by this time I'll have all the money in my account in 1984, and the movie will be a hit, and I'll still be living here, and it won't disrupt my timeline. This is what they did. I know it's kind of complex, but it's time travel, people. It's very delicate. So what I want you to understand is me as a child did something to directly affect the American government, so the Nazi government would not exist pretty much after this moment and this time and this 2014, and they know it. Because they cannot look beyond this time with their ships, and they can't go beyond this time with their time travel ships because they don't exist. They can't push their reality any further than 2014. This is very important for them to do. Now, I want you to understand that when they took me in Navasota, Texas, on their ship, they took me out of my home. I think I had to be at least, at least 9 or 10 years old. They were not expecting what happened. And for a child to be so vicious and fearless. So I'm going to tell you what happened, and I want you to understand and get a clear picture. We're talking about time travel, people, and these people trained me under Project Montauk to specifically do what I'm about to tell you, but I actually trained myself to do this better than what they trained me to do. So, going back to the kidnapping, because my programming started in 1984, because this is basically, I want you to understand, 1984 was basically their setting up place to where they started really all the time alterations. They figured, let's pick one spot in time when the first time loop happened, because the first time loop happened in Project Phoenix with Nikola Tesla's technology that he walked away from and left with the US government in 1948. And so in 1948, when some Freemason scientists that were friends with the KKK Bushes and a very big Nazi enthusiast, because their job was to study Nazi technology, so they applied what the US government knew and stole, and a lot of which was paid for, to Nikola Tesla's, what we know is stealth, the first stealth. It was actually a time machine. And Nikola Tesla knew this, he knew the dangers of it, and he told the US government he needed longer to work on it, and they said, no, we need this ship to disappear in 3 months, and Nikola Tesla said, I need at least a year. And they said, no way. So he quit, and he left everything that he did there. So when these other scientists got involved, and when they used their equations on his equipment, they opened up a wormhole from 1948 to 1984. This is the Philadelphia Project. So this was basically the first time jump, and when the government started to establish their control over time And then with the Nazi scientists, they started to maintain even more control because the Nazis were using the same technology with the Vril ship, which was the ship that crashed in Roswell in 1954. It was a Nazi ship. Now, the thing I want you to understand is this. The Nazis did not have the mental capability and the mental capacity to be on one of these ships. They tried with many of their soldiers, which went on the ships and died because they could not handle the zero G point energy mechanisms, and they couldn't control them. It was beyond them, and the Nazis knew this. So what the Nazis did through genetic manipulation, they took DNA from the Vril, which was the society that is behind the Nazis, the Vril occult, the Thule Society. They took their DNA and mixed it with reptilian DNA because the Nazis had it in their head that the reptiles and the reptilians were the superior godlike entities, and they took it upon themselves to recreate these entities. So what they did through genetic cloning, which the Nazis had genetic cloning, they created what we know as the Greys. And so on the first test run, the Greys, which were basically the baby Nazi, clones, crashed in 1954 in Roswell because their calculations were inaccurate, and so the U.S. government got their first ship, their first Nazi ship. And the Nazis like to tell stories about the Palladians came down and helped them perfect this. Well, the fact of the matter is, Nazis, you don't know who came down and helped you. See, you gotta understand, people, the Nazis thinks that they are the masters of mind control. And they were the first to invent it and perfect it. Well, they weren't. I can tell you that their first downfall is being a bunch of delusional psychopaths. And that is the easiest tool to use against them. So I can tell you that in their stories that they tell, they talk about these blonde-haired, blue-eyed Palladians coming down and giving them technology. Well, if you're under mind control and you're a Nazi and you show yourself as what they would believe to be gods and say, yeah, we're here to help you, but really you're there to actually destabilize them. Give them technology that actually you control and will always control, no matter what they do to it. And no, this is the only way to save humanity and time, because what they've done has to be done, but then you will get to a certain point to where it will all be undone, because the great understanding and the great separation happens. This is what's happening now. This is why I'm doing this video, so people can get a better understanding of what's going on, because most people are clueless to how time travel works and the things that have been done. So the very same things the Nazis have been doing to humanity were done to them. I can honestly tell you that. And I can honestly tell you the Palladians that came down and they thought were the ones that helped them, they weren't who they thought they were. Because these guys are delusional psychopaths, and they're going to bow down to anybody that steps off a ship with blonde hair and blue eyes. That's how they are. What, you think that, humanity from the future and everyone else in the universe doesn't know this? So, now I want you to understand how I'm awake. The things that the government has been spending millions and millions of dollars on these CIA witches with their EEG machines, with satellite synthetic telepathy, with GMOs, with a endless budget to try to get into my subconscious, to try to figure out what I did that brought about their destruction so they could go back in time and undo it. Basically, that's it, in a nutshell. So, they're listening right now. While I'm recording this, I want them to listen. I want them to know. Because this is what they had been spending millions of dollars on since 1984, since they took it. And since, I'm revealing that Lucas actually, time traveled and took his Star Wars script back in time to give it to himself, and which this became kind of a regular thing with Lucas and the Hollywood script writers. This is how they control time and control the subconscious and the psyche people. Now, Project Montauk, which they utilized me in Project Montauk. But I will tell you, every time I went through that gate, I was not under their control. I was under my control. Because of what I did the first time when they took me on the ship. Now, I hope you are getting a better understanding of time travel and what the US government and Hollywood and the CIA have been doing, because you got to understand that they're very tricky, and they think that they're sneaky, but they're not. It's pretty pathetic what they do. So I want you to understand that when they took me, their ships that they had at the time, this particular ship was one of the first. It was a prototype, and it was loaded with speed learning material and speed learning technology. Now, what I want you to understand about speed learning technology is how it works. Now, the US government knows it. I'm telling the truth. Because they don't want people to know about this. They have machines that they literally can hook you up to, like in the Matrix. Like when Keanu Reeves is, right after he takes the pill and wakes up in the real world, then they put this thing in the back of his head and he starts training, and they say, oh, what do you want to learn? And so next thing you know, oh, I know Kung Fu. Oh, I know this. That's real, people. They have that. But the fact of the matter is, they don't use a big little thing to stick in your head. What they actually use is nanotechnology and radio frequencies mixed with synthetic telepathy to basically attach itself to your pineal gland, and whichever part of your mind is the part of the mind where, say, martial arts is stored, say reading is stored, say science is stored. This is all done through brain mapping and putting what you call, or what I call, or what they call triggers into the mind. Any Russian agent, any CIA agent knows that I know what I'm talking about, because even they have their CIA mind caps, where the CIA has spent millions of dollars and hours of speed training and them hooked up to machines, and then going back and watching them train and utilizing what they so-called downloaded into their heads. So I want you to understand that this ship that I was on was the first of its kind to have this, because basically they had lost 2 ships before and they didn't know what happened to them. And they figured maybe they broke down, and so they would start equipping the ships with speed learning technology in case the ship got lost in a time loop or crashed or something. The ship's pilot could automatically learn how to fix the ship, no problem, just download it. And he's the greatest mechanic and knows all the mechanics of the ship. So there were 2 pilots on this ship, and they were dressed in white uniforms, which in the ship they had this thing that would make the other people on the ship see them as aliens. But once you turn it off, it is, it's hard to explain. It allows you to see what and who they really are. They were just men. So when they took me, I was strapped down on a table, and they were about to take me to another table. They unstrapped me. One of the guys, the other guy was in the front flying the ship. And when he unstrapped me, he had this thing on his side. It was basically a cutting tool. And I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was maybe a knife or something. And I grabbed it and I pushed the button, and the cutting tool turned on, and it was some kind of like laser cutting tool. And it sliced right through it. And I sliced him up. And I was barefoot and naked. And there was no blood. I didn't really know what was going on. I started to look throughout the ship, and I found another girl. She was locked up in a cage. So I got her out of the cage, told her to go wait in the thing, or back in the lab where the other guy was, and to go try to find another one of these or anything to protect herself, and I was going to go walk around. So I took the guy's lab coat, and it allowed me to look like him. Even as a child, it projected that image. But I didn't know this at the time. I just put on the coat, and the coat put out a frequency to do this. And so when I was walking to the front of the ship where the other pilot was, he thought I was the other guy as the alien. And so then I got close to him and I cut his head off. So then I yelled to the girl I don't think there's anyone on the ship. Come look, and we were just, it was like we were flying through space. You couldn't really see anything. It was like an interdimensional like wormhole. And I didn't know what to do. And so we started looking around the ship, and there was this thing marked directions. And so we opened the box, and there was a book. And it explained about speed learning and everything about the ship. And so I did it myself. And I learned everything about the ship and how to fly it and everything I needed to know about it and what was going on. It took about 5 minutes. So then I took control of the ship. We ended up taking the ship to another planet, and it was isolated, and we stayed there for a long time. Now I will say a long time to about the time in our time, about 20 years. Now I want you to understand also the process that they have on this ship. It's called de-aging. And the ship has a mechanism that anytime you sleep on the ship, you don't age. It takes you back to the last time you went to sleep to the first time you went to sleep. So you don't age at all. So what we did was the ship had a materializer on it. If you know about Project Montauk and what happened with their materializer chair and where they first got it, they got their materializer chair from the ship that crashed in 1954. So what I want you to understand is a materializer that we perfected, that we controlled, and that we put mechanisms in it to basically trigger us and to do what we wanted, no matter what the Nazis did to it, and they still never will find what we did. So that technology actually that worked to materialize things came from us. Because what we did with that ship is learn what the Nazis did with the Palladians and turn that ship into basically a war machine. And rebuilt it, redesigned it, and pretty much went and destroyed the Palladians. And then we used that technology to go back to the same time the Palladians showed themselves as the ones that came to help the Nazis, and gave them their technology, because we knew this had to be done to stabilize the timeline. Is because the Palladians that were actually the offspring of a Nazi's future timeline would have destroyed humanity as we know it. So this had to be done, and we did it. So I want you to understand what we did and what the US government has been dying to know and what happened. So we built other things. I mean, we perfected the materializer. And I will tell you that there are things out there that will reassure that these Nazi scumbags will never, ever have the soul of an innocent child. Now, I know you Freemasons are out there thinking there's no way, oh, I go to these sacrificial rituals and I sacrifice kids and, I rape kids and all these things that you believe is real. But you think that you invented false memory syndrome? You think that you invented mind control? Okay, so you can think that you invented these things, but in actuality you didn't. And the very same things that you think that you use on humanity have been being used on you and your bloodline, and it is in your DNA. There's nothing you can do about it. You're psychopathic. One of the biggest things about psychopathic people is they're delusional. And what is delusional? Well, if you're psychopathic, one of the very biggest things you can use on these psychopathic people is delusion. Design a mechanism to make them think, oh, I have this. Oh, I have this. I'm doing this. I got this. But the fact of the matter is, they don't have anything. They have what is needed for them to have to continue to do what they need to do until the point that the separation happens, and then they don't exist. Because they think that they invented time pushing. They think that they invented all these things when it comes to time travel, and they were the first to discover it, and they are the masters of time. Well, the fact is they're not. And neither are there abominations called the Sith, which in Stargate, the show, they call the Gua'uld, which I'm about to explain to you right now, people. The Gua'uld are basically an abomination, parasitical organism that the Nazis designed for the Greys to control the Greys. Because the Nazis first couldn't control the Greys, and so they created the Sith to go inside the Greys and to control them. But in actuality, the Nazis didn't really invent the Gua'uld. The Draconians made the Gua'uld. The Nazis also made the Draconians, because the Nazis found out that they couldn't control the Greys. So they designed a warrior-like reptilian force called the Draconians, which they took more time doing. And the Draconians designed the Gua'uld to go in and sit inside everyone's subconscious and control them this way. Now, I want you to really understand and listen to what I'm about to tell you about the subconscious and mind control. These psychopathic, delusional, scumbag pedophiles operate on fear. They would like to believe that they take children in the middle of the night, rape them, and sacrifice them to their Lord. Which I will honestly tell you, people, they haven't had one soul. I will honestly reveal to you right now that those children and women, there are some that didn't escape, but they're alive. And they're alive for a specific reason, because they were strong enough and they were needed in this time. People like me. But the other children that these psychopathic people believe that, they cut up and sacrifice to their Lord Lucifer, they didn't. I can honestly tell you these people were under serious mind control and false memory syndrome, and their bloodline is psychopathic, and they get off on these images and believing that they're sacrificing children and in these massive orgies, when the fact of the matter is, if you were to walk in their Masonic shrine and in their mind they're sacrificing kids and fucking each other, all they're doing is really standing there and they're under mass hypnosis. And there are other things going on a higher time scale where the children are taken and they are saved. I can promise you that. The only reason that they're not back is because these psychopaths are still here, still trying to figure out what happened, how they can undo it, how they can go back and time travel and try to fix this and try to change this so they can sacrifice kids and women to their Lord Lucifer and fuck whoever they want. So, I can promise you that these people are safe. They haven't been harmed. They haven't been sacrificed. They're very happy. And they know the truth, which I'm sharing with you right now. And they've been waiting for me to do something like this and to speak about this. To start progressing into the next phase. Because me, myself, I programmed myself to do this. Because when I took their ship, I built many things, people. Many things that will not be stopped. That were specifically built to specifically just destroy evil. On a mental level, on a spiritual level, on a subconscious level. Now I want you to understand that these Nazis and the US government and the Rothschilds and the Windsors, they're psychopathic. They're psychopathic DNA hackers, hijackers. They're looking for any way to find any way to prolong their timeline to undo what I'm speaking about right now. Because you can't imagine what a 9-year-old kid with the mental capacity of about 1 trillion Einsteins would do in 20 years once he came to the understanding of what needed to be done to save humanity. So I want them to know there's nothing in your little dinosaur peanut brains that you can possibly think of that will stop what's about to happen. And for the women that went through all the things that they think that they went through, and all the sex slavery and sex trade and the debauchery of these things, I will tell you this, and this is for the ones that have the scars on their body and really strongly think that these things happen. Well, these things did happen on some level. You gotta understand, mind control is mind control. And from what these Nazis were doing with it, this was the only way to stop them, is to use what they were doing against them. The false memory syndrome is false memory syndrome. Now, there have been many things done and studies that prove if you believe something is real, physically real, your body will physically show the effects of what you think happened. If you physically, really strongly enough in your subconscious believe this is real, your body will physically show this. So, think about this. You know and completely understand what I just said. And you have a speed learning machine, and you program the speed learning machine to put you through, say, a rape episode with Nazis where your body shows that you were raped and all this stuff, and your body actually shows up as the after effects of being raped by the Nazis. But it didn't really happen, but you programmed the machine to program your subconscious to show this. And the first time you do it, you try it to see if it works. But you remember what's going on. But it didn't really happen. But you program your subconscious to show a body that was physically, mutilated and healed. So now you're starting to understand the way of how much we can deceive these stupid fucks and play along with their sick, demented timeline. Because this is very much what we had to do. So I want you to understand that this is the process of what they're doing to humanity right now on a subconscious level with GMOs and synthetic telepathy. Why do you think black people are so obese? I mean, do you honestly think something happened to all the black people in America's ability to, to destroy fat? Well, no. Nazi eugenics actually did this, and through GMOs, which is in most black people and Mexican people's food, more so in the black people because they hate black people. Mainly because of me and my ancestry. Let's be honest. Olmecs. So they program these little nano technology and these genetically modified organisms to correspond with stuff like HARP, which is also used in the Stargate program and also used in Project Montauk, along with Tempest and along with Echelon, all evil ass fucking computers. So this is why they put up all these satellite towers everywhere around everybody so they can keep omitting these ones and zero frequencies. Ones and zero is on-off, people. 10-10. On-off switches. So they install a on-off switch into your, say, pineal gland, into your thyroid, and your thyroid is the mechanism of your body that mandates when you eat, how your body, fights off or actually turns the food you eat into energy. So they designed the GMO and with synthetic telepathy to attack your body and to bloat your fat cells, while your thyroid is hit on the off switch. So they're bloating your fat cells, and basically they turn your thyroid off during the process, and once the process of bloating is over, they turn the thyroid back on, and the thyroid can't compensate. And when the doctors look at it, it's called a thyroid dysfunction. No, it is simple science. This is what they've done to Black America. This is what they've done to Mexicans and trying to do to everyone else. So another thing that I want you to understand is what these Nazis did with 9/11 and why 9/11 was so important for them to do to try to stabilize and lock down their timeline in the psyches and in the DNA of humanity. 9 means ending. And the 1111 is the gateway and also is the code for DNA. So they wanted to end and lock down anyone tampering with their timeline with 9/11. Do you understand? So what they did with 9/11 is they implemented mass fear into the subconscious of the world by showing the planes hitting the Twin Towers over and over again and traumatizing everyone with the guy jumping off the building and everyone going, oh! And every time everyone, it was just, oh my God, oh my God. They were diving into your subconscious and instating their 9/11 lockdown into your DNA. And so basically they got enough people to watch this and to omit this frequency during 9/11. And this is simply what they did. It's based on fear. Now this is what I wanted you really to understand about how they operate. I don't have any fear, people. I've proven that to the French Foreign Legion when they were shooting bullets at me to see how fast I could move in France. That shit was awesome, guys. Respect. I know you people don't get it. Yes, the Legionnaires shot at me, but it was just during training because they dove into my subconscious and they triggered me. And when they trigger me, I can move pretty fucking fast. So respects to the Legionnaires, that shit was awesome. But it was rubber bullets, people. They weren't shooting, to hurt me. And when they found out, like, oh, he's one of them, they found out I was one of them, the Montauk Project kids. So this is the first time I've actually revealed this in a video. So I'm gonna reveal it all because I want this shit shut down and I want my money so I can continue to work and to create things to make humanity and Earth a more beautiful place, because that is exactly what it is. Nothing else. So I want you to understand the process of fear, people. When you watch a movie that's made by Hollywood, whether it be Transformers, whether it be your superhero movies or horror films, that feeling of adrenaline and that feeling of, oh my God, well, your favorite hero, and then when they get hit and you can feel that hit and you're like, and you're like in the fight. Those feelings are the things that I want you to understand are the gateways to them jacking into your subconscious through visual and mental mind control hacking, through emotional hacking. That's all. These people feed off your emotions and your fears. This is witchcraft. I want you to understand, for those people that don't know the essence of witchcraft and the really so-called powerful witches, well, how does a witch become powerful? A witch becomes powerful from stealing the essence of children. A witch becomes powerful from stealing the essence of the mass sleeping public. And how do you do that? You design something like Hollywood and get people to be like, oh my God, oh yeah, I love this. And here's all their energy, just voila. And then all your witches in Hollywood, like Rihanna, Jay-Z, Puffy, you know, all lesbians and faggots also, the occult. They get these higher places and higher degrees of Freemasonry because they get a greater understanding of these things that I'm telling you, and they think that they are godly and over the public because they know how witchcraft operates. Honestly, they don't know shit. They know what these stupid Nazis tell them and they believe it. There are things way beyond these stupid Nazis that think that they run Hollywood and the US government because, you know, through DNA genetic manipulation, they made the Greys and the Draconians, which the US government so-called is afraid of, and made treaties with them. With these people were made by the Nazis, and the Nazis actually control them and have treaties with them with their 13 bloodlines, which they say are reptilian, which the fact of the matter is they are reptilian, because the fact of the matter is they've experimented on their own DNA, which they've done two ways. The Draconians have more reptilian DNA than human DNA. The Rothschilds and Windsors have more human DNA than Draconian reptilian DNA, but nevertheless they still have it. This is why you still see the so-called shapeshifters and stuff like this. It is basically modern day witchcraft and science and DNA genetic manipulation of the Nazi eugenics plan. But the fact of the matter is there have been things that were done to all of them because you got to understand they're blood drinkers. And the fact of the matter is when you're dealing with time travel and people that have a greater grasp of time travel and that are actually better at it than them, I'm going to explain a situation. These psychopaths kidnap a kid. So this child's DNA alerts someone, I'm not going to say who, that something is going on through something that was designed, that was put in all human DNA, called a fear alarm. And these things are called, and they're undetectable by anyone except for themselves. And they operate on a whole other plane than you can imagine. And no, they're not angels. I'm not going to even get into the whole bullshit about Nephilim and angels. I mean, angels are pretty much demonic because they were the ones that came down and started raping humanity, and you know, the Nephilim and all that. All that stuff has been handled with time travel also, but I'm not going to get into that. So, the mechanism is triggered. They're watched, and then usually the witches take the child to a temple where other witches are there, and that child is believed to be raped and sacrificed. So the fact of the matter is, imagine you have a mechanism, something like Wonder Woman's lasso, and that can affect a whole room of people, even the earth if necessary, and put it in sort of like a time shift, just to save one child. I mean, it really doesn't matter because it actually happens quicker than a second. That's what I can tell you. So, while this happens, these witches thinks that they sacrificed a child, they fucked each other, whatever, you know, to their heart's sick content. They can imagine whatever they want. That's how it's designed. It is mental. But the child is saved and the child is taken to a safe place. These children and women are waiting to come home, back to their families, unharmed, and just as beautiful as the day they left. So, I want you to understand what's been going on with all the two suns and the time shifts and all of this stuff. Well, it's the Nazis using their time control and basically trying to create two parallel Earths that are basically fused into one, and they're operating on two different planes, trying to basically stabilize their psychopathic timeline because they completely lost control of it. But the fact is, hey Nazis, I want you to get a grasp on reality and understand what has happened to you. And the fact of the matter is, you have never had one child to sacrifice. And when you get that message from that entity that says sacrifice, because things are out of control, that's what they do. They sacrifice women and kids to get more power. This is why the Zionists are bombing Gaza right now. No other reason. They're psychopathic fucking witches. This is why Obama has the MS gangs over in Nazi detention camps in the US. It is the start of what they were planning of the mass murder and suicide of many Americans and American children with the start of the FEMA camps, and this is what they're planning. Obama is a faggot and an occultist, just like all of them. They're all bisexual degenerates that were made through deteriorating Nazi DNA. And the closer we get to the separation, every second, every day, and they're noticing it, because their cloning is breaking down. They are breaking down. You are going to start seeing these people drop and deteriorate. It's happening right now and they're not reporting it. Their DNA, these people are going to drop and their DNA is going to deteriorate, and you can't use it for cloning. You can't use it for nothing but just junk, and it's disgusting. It's going to look disgusting. That's how it was designed. So I want you to understand that this is what's happening. These psychopathic, delusional witches that honestly don't have pineal glands have been experimented on. And their biggest mechanism is them being psychopathic. Because what is a psychopath? Now, you really ask yourself, what's a psychopath? A psychopath is someone that will kill, rape, maim, do anything to have its way. So what if you design the psychopathic mechanism to basically give these psychopathic idiots anything that they want, but it's just in their heads because they're fucking delusional and they're psychotic. So this psychosis and delusion is the very biggest weapon that you can use against them. Because what happens, which is when you find out that you actually had no power at all, and the thing that you were feeding on to get your power from, per se, me, because I got a lot of power. Say Laurel Aston, she's got a lot of power. Say, people like us that you've been basically just feeding off of like batteries, and we've been allowing you to do it. And now, comes the time of separation when our subconscious and real us, the real time travelers and people that were exposed to higher technology that they actually had time to perfect even more so than you, were able to program themselves, do what needed to be done, and to save humanity from its own destruction. And there's nothing you can do, because it is in the DNA and you will never be able to get rid of it. It's been in our DNA before time was time itself. The universe is a very beautiful place. And once you understand how beautiful and immaculate the universe really is, it has no place for evil. There is no place for these psychopathic witches doing these so-called ceremonies, trying to sacrifice kids to, who they believe an entity that loves them called Earth. Earth hates you. I can promise you, Earth considers you its biggest virus on her. Fucking hates each and every one of you, because the stuff that you designed for humanity and tried to use humanity to even destroy her. See, this is what I want you New Agers to understand, and you stupid fucking hippies. The trick on you, because Aleister Crowley is your fucking godfather. You people that, think that you're light workers. Light workers come from the teachings of Lucifer, the so-called light bearer and the enlightened one, which was the biggest psychopathic joke. Because, he thought he was smarter than God. God is love. And I want you to understand this concept. Love is self-created. Love is self-generated. Love recreates itself within itself and can never, ever stop doing this. Imagine taking the process of making love and making a child, but the child never stops recreating itself through the love of the two. And then sometimes that entity will stop and take a look and see what's going on, because it's so busy recreating massively beautiful, great things. This is the essence of God. This is the essence of love, and this is the essence, true nature of the light, of the light energy, of the energy that will never cease to exist, because even the thought of this energy destroys the darkness, the wickedness, the stupid psychopathic morons. So I want you to understand, even now as I speak, these psychopathic entities are trying to use their so-called supercomputers to create things to even go against the grain of even what I'm talking about right now. Because the fact of the matter is, they don't want to see their end, but you created your end when you started mixing your own bloodline inbreeding, fucking your sister. You come from a bloodline of celestial, or excuse me, not celestial, but ancestral twins. I mean, incest. Study it, science. And then these people with Nazis and took their own DNA and mixed it with animal DNA, thinking that that was going to prolong their lives. Which, that's just stupid. That's where you get the draconians and the grays, and now they're trying to tell all these stupid hippies and new agers to embrace your hybrids. These hybrids they made. These hybrids they made from hijacking your DNA and kidnapping you and taking your DNA and trying to mix it with their foul DNA to get a hybrid of these soulless demonic children. The fact is, the soul cannot enter something that has a mixture of animal and human DNA. It is absolutely forbidden, and it will never happen. This is the nature of a demon. It is the zero polar opposite of what we are. But through fear and through manipulation of the human psyche and consciousness, they have created mechanisms for you to silently accept these demonic entities in your life. Now, I want to explain to you about the barcode and how it is silent acceptance and what they've done to get everyone to accept their mark of the beast. Because everyone thinks, oh, it's going to be the microchip. No, it's not the microchip, people. The microchip is just the second stage of it, because the microchip even has the barcode on it. The barcode is the mark. You can't go to the grocery store without seeing the barcode on everything you want to buy. Whether it's clothes or food, or shoes, or things for your house. So if you want this, you must accept the barcode. Those lines are separated into a mathematical formula that is 666. Now I want you to understand the power of 6. 6 is an inverted 9. 9 is the number, the ending number, the number of God, the end of all things, the beginning of all things. When you come to the nature of love, you will understand that love is the beginning and end of all things. This is why when you fall in love, and that feeling in you is just, I can't believe this. Am I here? Where am I? I don't care. I don't want this to ever end. This is the greatest, most magnificent feeling ever, and it is just, whoa, it's undescribable. But the fact of the matter is, it is because of the subconscious insecurities in both people, lies, manipulation, not on just the two lovers' ends, but in society. Society is set up to destroy love, people. They are afraid of the energy of love. I can honestly say that I don't know what love is. I mean, I can honestly say that what I thought love was, the love for my mother, was just a mechanism built into me because I was a new entity coming to this world and needed something to cling on to. And there was this beautiful woman that had this beautiful breast for me to feed on. I mean, how could you not need this and equate this to something that you would always want? And this wanting was ingrained in me, and this love for women and their breasts. It's on a subconscious level. I mean, I love what I know to be love and women's breasts. But this came from the womb. And for those that, try to deny this, homosexuals, whatever, you hate from which you came and you disrespect from which you came, faggots. So therefore, you will not be in what was chosen for us. And that's the truth. So I want you to understand there is no love for these abominations. There's no love and recreation up the ass. We weren't designed like that. This is why the Nazis rape kids and try to trigger the Kundalini at a young age so they can control you and the Kundalini energy, and that is where the fear mechanism sits. This is why they promote Kundalini and Kundalini breathing and Kundalini yoga, and this is why Kundalini yoga has the symbolism of the snake wrapped around the spine. That is the devil wrapped around your sensory and emotional mechanisms. That's what that represents. So I want you to understand the fact about understanding how they operate. And once you understand how they operate, you get a clear picture of exactly how and what they are, and they're pathetic. They're homosexuals. They're hated throughout the galaxy. And there are so many things right now that are here to destroy them. And watching this great separation, because it has been foretold for a very, very long time. So I want you to understand that the fact of the matter is, now that they know where their energy is going, how the kids that they thought they sacrificed and put into the streets, well, I will tell you this. When I mean kids and women put into the streets, the cartel, they are known for taking women and putting their bodies, grinding their bodies into the streets. Well, I will tell you this, and I will want you to understand the mechanism of what has happened and what happens. These people will be held accountable for the murders of innocent people. But never underestimate the power of cloning and the power of God. And I can tell you the things that these people will be held accountable for are very much the genetic DNA of these people. But it is not their spirit, and it is not their soul. These things that these entities chopped up, they are very advanced clones, and that were put in the place of the time of the killing of these people. And it's the only way that this could be done. For them not to claim the soul. For them not to claim the body. And for them to become weak. Because that is what has happened. Because like I said, if they don't have the souls to feed on, what is a witch? Hey witch, how you feel now? How powerful are you now? Even as I speak, you can feel them being saved from you. But the fact of the matter is, you will be held accountable for their murders. Because what you did murder was a genetic clone of that person, but that person was actually saved. So if you think you're the only ones using clones and cloning, and you perfected clone and cloning, think again. So I want you to understand that single-handedly this is going to make the Freemasons turn over in their grave. They're going to be upset about it. They're going to sit around their tables, try to think of mechanisms to develop to go around this and to undo what I'm talked about in this video with time travel. I can promise you that's what they're doing right now. They're just that psychopathic. But to you women that are victims, and believe me, there are victims, strong ones, like Laurel Aston, that went through this and knew they had to go through this, and like me. But in the end, the truth will come out, and we're going to be okay. And we're going to be able to use our full mental capacity and abilities to lead humanity into such a bright, brilliant, great future that this time will be looked upon and laughed upon. Because you got to understand how they operate. They want to make a timeline, even if they don't exist, that, you know, anybody that looks in the past, looks at the past and sees the horror, and they were so wretched and this. And again, the fear comes up and, oh, we must never allow this to happen. Because this is, you know, even that timeline and that future is their timeline. Because it's a timeline trying to prevent them from never being. So my timeline, where I'm from, is a timeline where these Nazis are just laughed upon, looked upon as idiots, pathetic. There's many jokes about them. And when the truth comes out about what I did and what I did to them and what many things and entities did to them, the whole fear mechanism is completely destroyed. And so therefore, once you do that, and you make it more of a mechanism to just, wow, oh, really? Damn, that's cool. There's no fear. They don't come up in the subconscious. They don't exist. This is where I'm from. I can assure you that there's a future like this that wherever they're trying to exist won't exist for very much longer. Because once people really start to understand what has been done and the power of humanity and what we're capable of, and what the first ones did to protect us and to destroy the wicked, so love will just reign forever, then people will start to understand and then move on. Move on from this circle of fear, this crutch of humanity that is turned on every time you turn on a TV. Within 4 seconds you're put into a submissive state to be programmed by these Nazis. I want you to understand everything. And there are things greater than you and them that will always exist to protect you. And another thing, quit praying to angels. They sold us out a long time ago. And the fact of the matter is, these angels, that's them. And they get you to pray to them, they get you to worship them more so than God. Because I can assure you, how many pictures of angels do you have on your computer in your house? How many times do you call on Michael or think of Michael and think he's the divine angel that's going to protect you? This is blasphemy. In the Bible, remember the story of the Towers of Babel, when man, and it was the black Afro man that created these towers, had the ability to talk directly to God beyond the jelly. That was the race of angels. They're called jelly. So I want you to understand that this race wanted to take control of humanity. Even the Elohim, they're a race. They're a race that feeds off your mental, psychic energy, Zionists, and they know this. They can make you feel euphoric. They can make you feel all these things just as long as you keep giving your energy to them. I don't give anything to these fucking demons. You're not going to feed off me anymore. But this is the trick on humanity. See, in the Greeks, they tell you that, in the Greek mythology, they tell you that the gods lost their power when humanity stopped praying to them. So, you should really understand that, because the Greeks were actually taught how to read and write by the Nubians. The Nubians were the people that were in the place that we know as Kish. They were the Kushites. Kish grew into Egypt after the Nubians taught the Greeks how to read and write and started mixing with them. And Kish grew into Egypt, and then they started taking the teachings, the Egyptians, and corrupting them, and the Nubians just walked away from the shit and left it. It won't have anything to do with the evil shit. So, and then the Egyptians developed their pagan gods like Ra and all these other things. They weren't Nubians. They were of Kishite and Olmec descent. First man. So, in Greek mythology, they tell you that the gods lost their power when humanity stopped giving them, their energy. So that should really tell you something right there, people. That's the basis of witchcraft. Keep praying to me. Keep giving me your energy so I can feed and get more powerful. Without you, without your power, I am nothing. This isn't God. God is absolute love, creating love within itself. It is endless and abundance of energy. So this should help you understand that whatever you pray to or whatever you're giving your energy to, it is not of God. The reason why you can't go to God and speak to God is because God's energy will blow your head up. I mean, this is why the covenant, the Ark of the Covenant was created. So that energy will be here on earth. And in case it ever needed to be, the covenant's open and these things are wiped out. Bottom line, this is why these Nazis were looking for the Ark of the Covenant so bad. So it could never be open. Indiana Jones. Again, George Lucas, man that murdered my father. Always talking about all this Nazi shit. The white Ashkenazi Jew shit. Nazis. Khazars. Kabbalists. Lucas is one of them. So they're not going to tell you all this stuff that they got a hold of by going to every town, in Europe and the Middle East, and basically stealing their history and knowledge that wasn't theirs, and then using this knowledge to try to create time machines, which this knowledge was left there not for them, but for those that want to try to use it to control time and to become time lords or time masters. You got another thing coming, because you're degenerates. You're psychopathic, homosexual, rapist degenerates. And you want a future to where you can walk down the street with your little Nazi patch and then take a kid and fuck that kid on the street and then go on about your business? This is the future that they want with NABLA and all the other homosexual, pedophile, Freemasonic, Scientology, religious organizations that they have set up. So, I hope you have a greater understanding of what has happened to me, because my memory is nice and clear now. They're not going to shut me down. I'm active CIA. I'm active NSA. I'm active French Foreign Legion. I am active. You know what that means. So if you want to come for me, you know that it's going to be a huge army to stop me. And Miss Aston, she's getting there. But if you go for that woman, she has her automatic triggers, and it will take a small army to take her out, and there are just 2 of us here in Mexico, Cancun. So I am active. So tell your friends he is active. And you're not going to shut me down with your CIA, mind caps, and your witches and warlocks and all your demonic fucks that keep driving by my street with your harp cars, which I exposed in France, with your miniaturized harp technology, with your brain mapping, where you take my brain and then you map it, and then you got a big fucking holographic image in the fucking NSA CIA headquarters trying to figure out what's going on with my mind and how to shut it down. This is what they're doing to me right now. This is what they're using their $1 billion synthetic telepathy equipment for, my mind. So they can figure out how to time jump and how to stop this and how to do this and this and this to get everything back under control, so their timeline will exist, so where they can, wear their little Nazi patch, and if they see a little boy walking down the street, they can take that boy from their parent, rape that child in front of that parent's face on the streets and going about their business, and everybody just considers this normal. I've seen that future Nazis. I went there. I destroyed it. So, anyways, I want you to understand that time travel is very real. I've listened to the other bullshit time traveler, bullshit guys that come on Project Camelot, which Project Camelot is Freemasonry also. I mean, why would you use something called Project Camelot when Camelot is basically the 13 bloodlines and based on Merlin's magic, witchcraft, and incest? That's Camelot. Why would you use a name like Project Camelot? Project Camelot is a project that they developed to basically try to help their New Age movement control and put their timeline more into the subconscious of the deep thinkers. Project Camelot's their bullshit. They have plenty of disinformation, so-called truthers out there. Project Camelot, they're related to the Rothschilds. I mean, the Galactic Federation of Light, that's also them. That's all their satanic New Age shit. I mean, they have so much shit out there, it'll blow your mind, like Alex Jones. I'm Alex Jones reporting this, whatever the fuck he does. Talking about the US government, rapes kids, blah, 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 blah. He's an antagonist. He tells you things that completely inserts fear and anger that the US government has been known to do. And here's Alex Jones acting like he's reporting it, but he doesn't give you a solution. He leaves you sitting trapped in fear and in anger. That's what Alex Jones is designed to do. He's a Freemason. I grew up in Texas. I know how they operate. So I want you to understand these things so you can start to see them for what they are. If somebody that you listen to leaves you in a state of anger and discontent, like, oh, what am I going to do? And you feel helpless and confused, that is them. They want you cycling and their fear and that new knowledge that they put in you in your subconscious. And then for these New Agers, these New Ager hippies, you're the worst. Because you are just like, oh, everything's peace, man. Everything's love. Everything's great. Everything's not great. Everything's not peace and love. And everything is, you need to really get educated too. And start educating people with the truth and stop joining organizations like the GLF and listening to Alex Jones and listening to Project Camelot that are probably the head of the New Age movement. The New Age movement is Satanism and witchcraft. Started by Aleister Crowley. That's a fact. If you don't believe me, research it. And that's why you have all these hippie witches in California and Arizona. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are great people in these places, but there are tons of even more of these satanic hippie witches. These people that, oh man, yeah, free love, sex, and they come off like the greatest people with great energy. Well, they have great energy because they feed off the energy of innocent people, the blind. And they don't leave you with anything real, anything tangible, anything giving you that power to say, I can take it back, to say, this is mine, I want this, and you can't have this. This is mine, I'm not going to share it with you. I'm going to be selfish for me. I'm not going to give. Because my giving and my understanding comes with conditions. And it's not all about free love, because there's no such thing as free love. I mean, when was the last time you really understood that love ain't free? And especially here. Because love comes at a cost. And the way they set things up here, real love comes at a deep cost. And for those people out there that really know what I'm talking about, you're going to get it. And for those other people that have no clue, you have no clue. This place where we're at and dealing with these Satanists, they hate love. And they have synthesized the love frequency through music, through tones, through so many things to make you feel euphoric, to make you feel at ease, to make you feel a feeling that you think is love, what you equate with love. And it is that feeling that you normally don't have because you don't know how to love yourself. Most people don't. This is why I say, be selfish, be greedy, take time for yourself, and understand one thought to its end and get to a better place to where you're loving yourself, because you can't give love without loving yourself. You can trick yourself and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna love everything, everything's great, everything's wonderful. It will be like that soon enough. When these evil motherfuckers are gone. But until then, it's a war. It's a war of the lovers and the haters. And that's it. I mean, two sides. You can be on the lover's side, you can be on the hater's side. And the real lovers understand this. Understand everything that I'm saying. But then the haters are going to hate, and they're going to even hate me because I'm telling the truth, and they're not going to like the fact that I'm saying, oh, you've never been in love. You don't even know what it is. Because the fact of the matter is, how could you know what God is? Have you ever met God? Well, the fact of the matter is, if you have met God, you wouldn't be listening to this. You wouldn't have me right now fighting for your very soul and trying to slap the shit out of your subconscious, and for you to just listen, and for this to resonate, and to actually just finally click. So, two sides, people. The lovers and the haters. And the haters are going to hate. That's what they do. That's all they do, is they hate. They don't have anything good for you. They don't have any good plans for you. They can hit you at your pleasure frequency with a nice little manipulated frequency and make you think that they love you, but they're haters. They feed off you. So I want you to understand, yeah, I'm a Capricorn. I'm selfish, I'm greedy. You know, when it comes to my things, I don't share. I don't want to share. Because my things weren't designed to share. My energy wasn't designed to share. Me, myself, wasn't designed to share. Me, myself, I have a mission. I have things that I'm supposed to do to benefit humanity on a greater level. And unfortunately, very few people in humanity are on the level that I am on. So how can I share anything of that? It will compromise myself. This is why they're always hacking into me. And hacking into the left side of my brain and the creative side of my brain and trying to steal my creative energy and use it against me. Literally, this is what they're doing. And then my security mechanisms that I've developed against them, they'll hack into my right or left side of my brain, which is my creativity side, and put their mechanisms in to force me when I'm sleeping to give them whatever they want. This is what they do to everyone. But me, myself, I want you to understand that I'm aware of what they do. Very aware of every little thing that they do. This is why I have my next door neighbor, Alberto, with an EEG machine. This is why I have the guy across the street from me that is Mexican Cartel CIA. This is why his next door neighbors across the street from Alberto are drug dealers, witches, and even a real witch descendant is living across the street. She drives the red Volvo, which I won't put any of their bullshit cars on this video. I already did it in other videos, and if you want to see it, go back and see it. Or visit my website, Dismantle the Central Intelligence Agency, and look for their cars. They're under the album called Gang Stalkers. This is who they are. And they're getting paid heavily to try to hack into my mind, send it to Washington or wherever CIA chooses to put my new brain map up so they can try to figure out new mechanisms to figure out how to shut down this and this and this. Then they turn it over to scientists and say, we need this done and this done. Can you program the AI to do this and this and this? And then they send it back to the witches to cast spells on it and to instate new codes, to try to instate a new mind cap on my mind to lock down specific parts of my mind so I can't use this mechanism or this creativity. And then they get their other CIA witches in their heart cars every time I throw the shit out to try to reinstate it by driving by my house, by jacking into my electric wires with Tempest and Echelon that read the body's signature and mental signature through changes of my electromagnetic field that comes from my body. This is what Tempest is designed for. So I want you to understand the whole mechanics of what they're doing to me 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't stop. Not when I sleep. Every morning when I wake up, I have to figure out what they did to me when I was asleep and try to undo it. This is the process that I live through every day with mental exercises. I don't have time for anything else because they don't stop. They're fucking psychopathic. And they don't need to stop with robotics and nanotechnology and fucking computers working on ones and zeros on off switches that don't sleep. I mean, these are billion-dollar facilities that they have me jacked into through synthetic telepathy and through microwave satellite terrorism, that the encoding is protected by these assholes living around me with their computers and EEG machines. And let's not forget the fucking digital robotic birds, the MOVs, the basically the mechanical drones. They have the birds, and a lot of on my videos, you can hear them in the background. The birds with the loud screeching. If you listen, you can hear them. Those birds are actually shooting digital codes into the air, into my ear, into my subconscious, into the nanotechnology that's attached to my fucking brain, trying to give it new codes and new things to do on the spot. And these birds are directly, or mechanical birds, are directly hooked up to Tempest and Echelon. These are their mechanical counterparts. They're biological drones. They're always specifically in this area and only in this area. You can hear it right now. Wait. Let's see if it's going to make sound. Nope, because I'm talking about it. This is what the government has on me. This whole operation is millions of dollars a day, and I had Cesar Augusta, a lawyer who I suspect working for the cartel or them, took Laurel Aston for $70,000, and he still has her diamonds. I mean, once you understand the whole massiveness of this operation, every time when that bird is heard, I hope somebody shoots it. It's not a real bird. You won't find that bird in any other place in Cancun other than around me. It is not indigenous to this area. Because the birds in this area, you don't hear any birds in this area other than that bird. And this is a tropical climate. Because all the real birds are scared away from these demonic birds because it's putting out these negative frequencies. It is called sound hacking and sound pushing. This is what they do to the children of Project Montauk. When they were programming us, they programmed us to accept these codes. I don't accept these codes. So what are you going to do now, CIA? Now that I've exposed the operation of your entire operation all the way down to your mechanical drones. And yes, people, think about it. They have technology where they can create basically a mechanical mosquito. You think that they can't get feathers, fake feathers, and learn the mechanics of a bird, how it flies, and design light technology using light alloys with a mini microprocessor computer, and this bird is basically hooked up through Echelon, through Wi-Fi and other things, and through these people around me. Because that's who it's also communicating. This is 2014. This is what they do. To the operator of that bird, Mr. Cristian. He's one of the operators. Mr. Lucas's son. That's CIA. That was put on me because he has everything to lose once the truth comes out about how psychopathic, demonic his whole family is. So Mr. Cristian, and I don't mean Christian, Cristian, that's his little code name. He loves it because it sounds like Christian. He's the major operator of the Tempest Echelon bird because he's known me the longest. He's been put on me the longest. He has the most, declassified files on me because his father killed my father and replaced him. What better person to be the operator of the Echelon and Tempest mechanical drone. Other than the Christian warlock, Chris, Mr. Lucas's son. And all of you that know Lucas, he does have a son named Chris. I used to live up the street from him. So, Chris, what are you going to do now after I've exposed your mechanical bird? Screeching so the whole fucking neighborhood can hear, and has been every place we go. Every place we've stayed. Russians, French, everyone. Listen to the recordings that you have around us, and I guarantee you in the background you got that bird, but if you got a recording of that bird, it is hacking into your system. That is what it's designed to do. It is sound pushing, sound frequency, digital hacking. Now everybody knows. So anyway, have a nice day. I'm not going to take time to put nice little pictures with this video because I want to put it up as quickly as possible because time is precious. So anyway, thank you for your time, people. Have a beautiful day. Much love. And stay in the intelligence and be fucking selfish. Take time to learn how to love yourself. Understand you can't love anybody until you love yourself and start taking it back. Taking back every little fucking bit of energy these motherfuckers stole from you on a silent, subliminal, subconscious level. And that's the honest to God truth. Because if somebody's trying to tell you other than what I'm trying to tell you right now, they're full of shit. Take time to yourself. Understand what that hole is that sits in your subconscious that needs to be filled. And when you start to understand that, maybe you'll start to understand that that part of you is meant to be filled with love and it was emptied out by these demonic entities. Peace.